Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You're joined by your usual hosts, Josh Hartley and Ben Porter. Ben, how's the week been for you?
It's gotten better.
Yeah,
because
you haven't had people tell you that they don't trust you, or that having someone from Just Eat effectively call you a pie.
Yeah, I've not had any of that, and the insurers finally got up off their arses and put the money through, so my bathroom is being fixed.
Hey! Have we actually talked about on the podcast?
I'm sure it's been mentioned.
Yeah, so Ben and Charlotte's bath has broken, and it has took about 5 weeks for it to
I don't think that's
repaired.
an exaggeration. It's
been a long time.
It's been a long time coming.
So
and the insurers will be getting a sternly worded letter. Yes.
Are you going to do it on the Unlucky Frog gaming headed paper?
I think I should make it look all official.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh, this guy means business.
Aye.
Or they'll just see it and laugh at him and go, what is this?
Or both.
They laugh, but in that way.
Yeah, they're just like nervous.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
That fear of the unknown.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, I think so.
But the important thing is your bathroom's going to be back in order. So, hurrah!
Yep.
But yes, we're going to cover off what we've been doing gaming-wise over the last week or so. But let's cover off the news first of all. So, what do we want to start with here?
Well, I think the big news is a few months back we spoke about Space Goat Productions.
Yes.
And how they'd made a complete arse. I don't think that's too strong to say that.
Technical legal term.
They made a complete bodge job of the Evil Dead Kickstarter. To the point where we found out quite recently that Gamerati, who I believe were involved in the fulfillment of the Evil Dead 2 Kickstarter, actually enforced a warehouse lion against them. Yeah.
So this basically is, if people aren't familiar with this term, it's effectively where one company seizes the assets of another company that's stored in a warehouse.
Yeah. And it's called a lion because there's a legal basis for this, right? There's a process that you go through. Gamerati have done that. More often than not, this comes about because the terms of whatever agreement has been drawn up has been violated, and the distributor is then within their rights to seize those assets in order to recoup some of the losses.
Yeah. And just to be clear, there are no lions involved.
A warehouse lion.
A warehouse lion. It's the best security guard.
I think a warehouse lion would be like a bit sickly though. Like he's been locked away for too long.
Oh, he passed his prime.
Yeah.
Got a little spare tire on the go.
Yeah.
Just spends the evening, because people aren't bothered breaking into this warehouse, so he spends the evening just watching the soaps.
Yeah, with like his little sort of half moon glasses, like Hertz, and he's just kind of.
Oh, Ken Barlow.
Yeah, like he's got the security feed in the background.
He's not watching that. He's not watching that.
Yeah, there's like kids breaking in, stealing copies of The Evil Dead.
That's why it wasn't fulfilled. Yeah. That was the whole reason.
So now they've got a proper warehouse lion.
Yes, the legal one.
Yeah.
So who has ended up with the stock?
So what happens with the lion is the stock that's being seized is put out to auction, and then people.
It's kind of like what's that TV show called? The TV show where they go
Storage Hunters.
Storage Hunters. There we go.
Well, it's a similar idea.
It's a giant version of Storage Hunters.
Yeah. But I mean, like you joke about that, but it's one of the ways that a lot of people get these things is they get repossessed by the government, things like that, and then they just put them out to auction. So it is Jaskell Games
Yes.
that have picked up this stock.
Jasco Games being behind the upcoming Street Fighter miniatures game, and also the Universal Fighting System.
Yeah, and I know, I think I've said to you before, Joe Vargas of the Angry Joe Show is quite involved in Jasco Games. He was involved in development of the Street Fighter miniatures game in particular, and he was one of the more vocal complainers during the Evil Dead 2 campaign. So I imagine that he's probably involved in some way in this as well.
Now, to note, we had a quick look, because they've actually published the full inventory of what has been seized.
I have a list,
and we'll post the list in the show notes. But what struck us about this list?
There's no actual games on this.
The list appears to be all the sort of higher tier pledges and stretch goals, things like new dice, comics, that sort of thing.
Which is cool, but
but no actual copies of Evil Dead 2, the board game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully this is a sign that there's some light at the end of the tunnel for those people who invested in this.
It's so there's a couple of things that could be the reason for this. First of all, it could be that the game never went to print.
Yeah.
Which would not surprise me with the level
they took the decision to make the stretch pledges before making the core game itself.
But it was the level of deceit and incompetence that Space Goat Productions have demonstrated. That would not surprise me. The other thing is, as is very often the case with these things, it could be in another warehouse.
Yeah. So, like I say, hopefully those who backed the campaign, this is a sign that there may be some light at the end of the tunnel. Unfortunately,
it is yet another painful reminder that you are investing in a project,
not buying.
And the fact of the matter is, calling out Kickstarter a little bit here, they don't do an awful lot to enforce accountability.
No.
There is not much they can do, but I dare say that with a lot of recent events, I personally would like to see them taking more steps.
Yeah.
To hold these unscrupulous companies to account.
Yeah, I think the thing from their point of view is like how involved do they want to get, right? And what benefit would there be for them if they try and go down that route?
Well, put it this way, I think it is a matter of time before someone mounts a fairly credible case against Kickstarter.
Yeah.
With some of the stuff they've done. Like the overturned debacle. Mm-hmm. Was it overturned? The Rising Sands one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. The overturned debacle, where it turned out that most of that had been plagiarised.
Yeah.
Kickstarter were pretty slow to respond. Their hand was forced when the company fulfilling it said that we are not having anything to do with this. But prior to that, Kickstarter didn't. And really, in an instance like that, it should be Kickstarter leading the way.
But I can't imagine in all reality they would want to get involved in these sort of legal disputes.
I don't think they would be, but I
think they may well have to.
I think it's going to happen at some point.
So there we go. So that's the latest update on the Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
So what games have we been playing this week?
I was through at Duncan Cowan's, Duncan of Tabletop Scotland, playing on the fabled Geek and Son.
Oh, lucky man.
Very nice table. So Charlotte and Duncan played a game called Roll for the Galaxy, whilst I assembled the miniatures for Nightvault.
Yeah.
Which came out on the same day. Charlotte raved about that game. It looked quite interesting, but I was quite invested in
building your plastic minis.
Really wanted to play that on the day it came out. But so they played that, seemed to have a blast, and then Duncan and I had a go at Nightvault.
Yes.
So we'll maybe talk about that a little bit more, because you've also now...
I've had a shot with the new warbands, yeah. So yeah, what are your first impressions?
I really like Magic.
Yeah.
I think it's a great addition to the game. I think they've balanced it pretty well, because it gives you a different way to approach things. It gives certain fighters on the board a much greater effective range than they had before. So the game's not quite as melee-centric as it was in Shadespire. But they've balanced it well, because if you want to include spells in your deck, you're going to have less ploys.
Yep.
So you don't just gain an advantage for free. You have to decide if you're going to go all out in spells, which is fine. I imagine by the time that we've had a few expansions out, that'll be quite a viable thing to do, but it does mean that you're potentially losing out on those ploys. But the wizards aren't so powerful that if you didn't have one in your warband, that you would feel that you...
It's the fact that they have to roll, right? Like, you have to roll successfully to cast a spell.
Yeah.
I think that balances it quite considerably.
There's ways of weighting it in your favour, but there's certain spells that are just a lot harder to cast, like the two new symbols that we've got on the spell casting dice. You've got the channel symbol, which is the forked lightning.
Yep.
And then you've got the focus symbol, which is the little swirl. The channel symbol occurs 3 times, I believe.
Yeah.
And the focus symbol twice. So it does mean that certain spells are that bit trickier to cast.
Yeah.
And then if you roll double crit, you suffer a miscast and it damages you. So it's you can choose to use that magic, but it's like you're saying, there's a little bit of gamble involved there. But flavour wise, it's great, because it creates this feeling that you're trying to harness quite volatile energies.
Yeah.
So what do you think of it so far?
No, I liked it. I quite liked. I was playing as the Nightvault, all the ghosty guys, and they're an interesting warband. Very much more mobile than the undead that I'm used to. I don't know. I'd need to sink my teeth into it, but yeah, it's certainly more of an evolution than revolution. I think the addition of magic's a welcome one. It doesn't break the game, it just adds something new to it to make it a bit more interesting. In particular, looking forward to some of the warbands coming out over the next year. And I believe the new ones are coming up for pre-order just now.
While you're looking that up, one of the other refinements that I'm quite fond of is the way that they've reworded the token placement rules.
Yeah.
So it'll sit when it tells you, when it describes to you making a charge action, it'll say make a move, then an attack action, and then gain a charge token.
Right.
Because there are a couple of ploys and upgrades and things. Like there's the Stormcast have one, I think it's called Stunning Strike or something like that, and it's an upgrade that can be applied to Amos or Rastus, which are the 2 non-leader characters, and if the attack is successful, the target of the attack gains a charge token.
Oh, right, wow.
So it's this really clever and efficient use of the token.
Yeah.
That rather than having to create a whole set of rules.
Yeah, it's just
for
like
a stun attack.
Yeah,
it's just you
just
do that
put
attack,
that and they can't do anything now.
Yeah.
So
it's
simples.
Really nice bit of streamlining there.
Yeah. So the 2 new warbands coming out. We first of all have Eyes of the Nine.
Okay.
Which is the Tzeentch warband.
Yep.
So this is led by Vortimis the All-Seeing, who's a Tzeentch sorcerer. He's got a couple of acolytes with him, Zangor bodyguard, and he can summon up this blue horror.
Yep.
To And it can summon the blue horror, you were telling me, on any starting hex in the game as well, which is really, really useful for trying to get into your opponent's territory as well.
And similar to the Skaven and the Sepulchral Guard from the first season, he retains any upgrades that you gave him as well. So
that's pretty handy. But I think the one that I think we're both looking forward to more is... Zarbag's Gits, which is a warband of goblins, and they look fantastic.
How many are there?
There are 9 miniatures in here, so you get 7 goblins and 2 squigs. Who, if you've never followed the Warhammer universe, squigs are these fungal-based monsters with massive teeth.
They're like little Pac-Man monsters, basically. They just stomp about eating stuff.
So I believe the 2 squigs, they have a squig herder who and they deploy in front of him. My favourite miniature is there's a fanatic, which is a goblin who is, for want of a better phrase, high on special mushrooms and has a big ball and chain.
I think he's like, it's the sort of goblin equivalent of Buckfast.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's smashed, but he's absolutely rattling at the same time.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things about that character is that he utilises that new scatter template. Yeah,
which is cool. It means very much in keeping with how Fanatics worked in 8th edition as well. So I'm really looking forward to trying them. And they've got in, I love this, one of the objective cards for the goblins. Call that a win. Score this in the 3rd end phase if there are 5 or more surviving friendly fighters. So I think that gives you an indication on how to play that warband. They're thoroughly expendable.
So back in the day with Warhammer Fantasy, goblins were one of my favourite armies to play against, because some of the stuff that happened with them was just so funny. Like you're saying, they'd have the fanatics that had as much chance to damage their own units.
Yeah, go back into them.
But they're the cowardliest, weediest, most conniving little guys in the whole of Warhammer, and they're just great.
Aye, they're so much fun. They really, and these, I can't stress enough, these are fantastic miniatures as well. And
they've kept the iconic Games Workshop Night Goblin aesthetic.
So they've got the little black hoods.
Yeah.
One of the archers has an arrow through his hood as well.
Yes. One of them's actually got his hood falling into his eyes. And he's still trying to shoot.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So that's what's coming up for Nightvault. So we'll let you know once we've sunk our teeth into it more. I'm thinking I'm sticking with the skeletons for now, but those goblins look really fun.
Yeah,
those goblins look really fun.
I think they're going to be popular. Yeah. I think they're going to be one of those warbands. It doesn't really matter how good or bad they are. I think people are just going to love playing them.
Yeah.
Because goblins.
Yeah. Because, goblins, why not?
Well, I mean, they're grots now in Age of Sigmar.
The copyright version of goblins.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. Sorry.
But generally speaking, to sort of sum up how I'm feeling about Nightvault, it's improved upon Warhammer Underworlds in very interesting ways without detracting from the core game, because a lot of the time I feel that like expansions and additions and new cycles to games can very often render the original game unrecognisable.
Yeah,
it can be a bit of a risk expanding again.
Or even making the existing gangs, warbands, armies, whatever, completely useless as well. Whereas it doesn't feel like that's the case with this one. I think you'll still get plenty of game out of it.
I'm interested to see how, for instance, my dwarfs measure up against the new Nighthaunt.
Yeah,
because the Nighthaunt want to try and mob you, and the dwarfs love
a fight.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. But obviously they don't have magic.
So there we go. So we'll see how that all pans out. But what else did you manage to play while you were over at Duncan's?
I played Endeavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the game of a game of European imperialism, basically.
Pretty much. It's a very impressive game. You do love a good insert. You would.
You would have
been positively giddy at the sight of this one.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's just all really neatly arranged. The graphics all look great. It's a beautiful looking map. It looks like it's been styled to look like a map of the time.
Yeah.
And it's a really big game. In terms of scale, I really enjoyed it, and as you know, I'm generally speaking a wee bit cynical when it comes to games where it's all about economics. But the good thing about this is it's got a good dose of conflict in it,
which satisfies your hunger.
Yeah.
So.
But interestingly enough, it was Charlotte that was being the most confrontational in this.
Yeah, but towards you.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's par for course.
So Charlotte, Ross, and Duncan are all being horrible and, gathering up loads of gold. Meanwhile, I was in North America, freeing slaves.
Look at you
via the Underground Railroad.
You virtue signaller. Look at me! I freed the slaves in this board game I played.
Yeah.
Did you free slaves in real life, Ben? Did you?
No, I didn't.
Nah. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, because that was the first thing you told me about you playing this game. Endeavor's great. I ended slavery.
I did. No, I actually did. Because there's like milestones within the game that then trigger certain events. Like if you have a certain amount of control over a region, you become the governor of that region. But what happened was because you've got quests in here, which is really neat. So it's not just what's going on the board. There's these quests over at the side that
you're trying to fulfill.
They give you little side objectives, basically. And one of them was the Underground Railroad. And what's really neat is the flavour text that actually gives you a bit of the history about what this is.
Yeah.
Because
like
one of the other objectives was the Spanish Main, and it was about fortifying cities in South and Central America, which was the Spanish Empire at one point. But I went hell for leather with the Underground Railroad because everyone else had slavery cards.
Right.
So what it meant was that when I ended slavery, that they all got punished for having slaves.
I just love the mental image of you guys going, right, we've ended slavery, and everyone else at the table just going, oh, why?
just like,
oh!
I was like, no, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I obviously did it out of the goodness of my heart.
Not to undermine the economies that your opponents had built.
It wasn't in any way done to spite my opponents. It was for the good of humanity.
Just like in real life, eh? Joe.
No, but
it was at least a factor in the decision.
Yeah,
if we abolish slavery, this is going to cripple the South's economy. Yeah. Well then,
yeah. And there's a rebellion going on in America just now, so maybe we should abolish slavery. I mean, it would be good, if people weren't slaves, right? But
tell me more about this rebellion. No, that's good. I'd love to give it a shot actually, because it does sound like my kind of game.
It's it was published by the Grand Gamers Guild, which we had Marc Spectre from the Grand Gamers Guild on the show recently, and Endeavor was mentioned in the course of the conversation, so it was really cool to actually be able to play it.
Yeah.
And as one of the many games in Duncan's disgustingly huge library.
Yeah, let's not let's not go there because it is significant.
Yeah.
But so that's what you've been up to gaming wise this week. I suppose the thing I want to add is Magic the Gathering related stuff. Sorry, Ben. But
I'll just set an alarm clock.
Yeah. But two things have happened. One, the Guilds of Ravnica is now out. I unfortunately was not able to make it along to a pre-release, just with how things lined up. But on second point, the Magic Arena,
which is the app, right?
Yeah, their new online gaming platform that they've been working on, is now in open beta. So I was part of the closed beta.
As was I.
As was you for a brief period, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
But they've now opened it up. It has involved an account reset. So
is that stats, collections?
Yes, collections, everything. Apart from any actual money that you'd spent on the system, they had reimbursed you for that in in-game currency.
Okay, yeah.
So I opened the game up and had absolutely bucket loads of in-game currency.
How much?
Because, I didn't translate it into pounds, right?
Didn't want to.
I didn't want to, no. But put it like this: I've had a significant amount of money to spend in game, so I just bought a load of booster packs and cracked them all open.
This is fine.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. This is fine. So, first of all, I suppose Guilds of Ravnica is really fun. So far anyway. And what with this also hails a shake-up in the standard format. We've got some of the old collections going out and Guilds of Ravnica coming in. So notably, the Kaladesh block and the Amonkhet block are now no longer standard playable.
This is just to freshen up the meta.
And it so far anyway, this has only been the first weekend really as of this recording, but there's some really neat new decks coming about already. It seems quite diverse because of how Guilds of Ravnica is set up. So you've got it's got 5 of the 10 2-color pairs in this set. So my prediction is for at least the next few months until we get the second set in this block out, we're going to see more of a focus on those 5 colour pairs. But in terms of the Magic the Gathering Arena beta, they've made some changes to it.
Some quality of life improvements?
Yeah, so they've made the auto-tapper a little better. So this is just... It's a small thing, but on Magic Online you had to manually click on each land that you wanted to tap. Whereas now it will just tap them automatically for you. So it saves a lot of time and one of those annoying things. The only thing is...
so not only do you not have to get up and go to the store to play Magic... You don't
even have to tap your lands anymore. Yeah. Little things like that. But I think I remembered your criticism of it when you tried it. One of them. In particular was the tutorial. Yeah. Or rather the lack thereof when it came to explaining what the formats are.
Well, the tutorial was fine, but it was like this almost sort of Spartan type thing of like you're like a 3-year-old kid, you've just learned to walk, and it's like, right,
you go
kill a monster.
Yeah,
that it felt a bit like that. You got out the tutorial, which was I said to you, like, hats off to them. It was very well crafted. It introduced the tropes and mechanics of each of the colours very well, and they also injected a nice amount of flavour in, which is one of my criticisms of the way that the game is approached in general, is that the mathematical approach that's taken to Magic often means that
no one cares about the story.
Yeah. So you had this great tutorial, and then, like, Nicol Bolas comes in and you're like, oh shit, it's him, the big bad and all that, and then they just pop you out and there's a list of formats with no explanation of what they do.
Yeah. So what they've changed now is that when you finish that tutorial, The only thing you can do is just go play some other players in a constructed match. So the actual computer tells you, or you get this thing. It reminds me of Navi from Legend of Zelda.
Hey, listen!
Not quite as obnoxious as that,
Yeah.
but yeah. This little sprite tells you, okay, now if you go play this, and then you'll get rewarded with this for playing in a match or fulfilling these objectives, like just simple stuff to start you off on, like play 5 lands and that sort of thing. And then when you do that for a little bit, it opens it up. Still doesn't explain what a draft is, though.
It's like, it's been months now, right?
Yeah.
And I
Look, I know. I know.
I filled in a survey, and I'm not saying like they should have listened to my feedback from all the thousands of feedback forms they got, but I would think that if it was a problem that I had, it's a problem that other people would have had, and I would have thought that they would want to pay particular attention to the detractors of the game.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder though, right? Have they designed this just with people who play Magic the Gathering already in mind? Because if that's the case, that seems like a mistake.
I think that's fine, but is an awful business strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you want your player base to grow.
Because one of the things that we've always said is that if your player base is not growing, it is a matter of time before you're going to get drop off. You're going to experience drop off. Because what happens is you'll have established Magic the Gathering players who are very enthusiastic about the game, are very involved in the community. All of a sudden, one of them has a kid, has to stop playing.
Yep.
One of them, his shift patterns change, he has to stop playing. So if you've not got new players coming in to fill those spots, it's a matter of time before
Exactly.
it diminishes.
So that was my thoughts on the changes that they've made to the beta. I do have to say though, I think if you enjoy Magic the Gathering, particularly playing standard or drafts, it is well worth your time. If you're new to it, it'll teach you the basics of the game, but
and then
it will lead
destroy you.
Yeah.
It will tar you, feather you, then set you on fire,
and then call you stupid,
and send a mob after you.
Yeah, there we are. So that's my week. So that's what I've been up to, and I think with that, are we?
No.
Oh, do we have one more thing?
There was another game that we played. You were in there bragging about it not 40 minutes ago.
Oh, I want to give more time for that though.
No, you've got 5 minutes.
Oh, bugger off.
You've got 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Right, we did play Scrabble as well. Inspired by our recent guest, James talked about Magnate.
Yeah.
And specifically the history of Monopoly. It's encouraged me to persuade Ben and Charlotte to have a crack at, frankly, one of my favourite games of all time. And it's a game that it's one of my favourites because it's something I share with my dad and my brother, like every Christmas.
But that's fine, because it's one of the things that a lot of people talk about that they feel is missing from reviews, is people talking about how games make them feel.
Yeah.
And if you're just fond of that game because of the memories attached to it, there's nothing wrong with that.
But I have this thing where people rail on like the old classics like Monopoly, Cluedo. But my point to you guys was Scrabble's different. Scrabble holds up.
Yeah.
So what did you think of it? Like playing it?
I fall into this trap of trying to come up with really convoluted words.
Yeah.
But then
that's not how you win.
It's not how Scrabble works, but that's just like the little challenge that I set to myself is that how can I get the biggest word?
To be fair, if you can play a 7-letter word, that's exceptionally good.
Yeah.
Right. But anything short of 7 letters is probably not the most efficient way of playing.
Scrabble's fundamentally a tile placement game.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to have an extensive command of the English language or whatever language. It helps.
Yeah.
But it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win. And
No.
I say that as someone who quite naturally sometimes falls into using quite flowery language. It did not confer a particular advantage to me.
But yeah, who won?
You won.
Yeah, convincingly.
Convincingly, but at the same time, I feel like you need a bit of perspective here, Josh, because you do play the game a lot more.
No, well, I mean, I say this jokingly, but this is one of my positive critiques of the game is that I think a good game, is one where the person who has the more skill or experience is probably going to have an upper hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if it's completely random, then why are you bothering? So the fact that I won by some margin confirmed to me, okay, well, this is quite a well-designed game, and not just anyone. You can pick it up, but not just anyone can just win right out the bat.
I think, considering also it was first designed in 1938.
Yeah, so the history of it goes back to 38. I was actually reading a little bit of it. I think the Scrabble that everyone recognises was first published in the early 50s. I think it was 52. But it didn't go through significant changes between those two dates. And really the only changes it's gone through since then have been addition of new words to the English language.
Which is really, if you think about it, more an errata than a change or an expansion.
And I think, given the age of the game, the actual mechanics of the game and the design holds up and stands the test of time, unlike
I would. There was a couple of criticisms I had of it. For me, Scrabble has a lot of the same problems that Azul does. That because it requires such precision play, there's not a lot of interactivity.
No, yeah, I must admit, if everyone's intent on like winning in a game of Scrabble, you're very often spending prolonged periods of silence just looking at your tiles.
And what it means with a game like that is that you can play it online versus a computer versus another opponent, and you're not going to have a wholly dissimilar experience. I do feel like a lot of the time, and this is nothing against people that like solo gaming or anything like that, but if I'm playing a tabletop game, I want to be interacting.
Yeah.
And I feel like Scrabble's not really conducive to that. But then again, it also depends on how you're playing it and who you're playing it with. Because I imagine there'll be people that are just going out their way to spell fart and stuff like that.
I got arse.
You got arse.
I played arse, and I was quite proud of myself. But
Yeah.
it wasn't a great score.
No.
Probably wasn't even the best play I could have done at that time.
But brings me on to my second criticism is that I do feel that, and I can hear all the veteran gamers howling in anguish with me even just thinking this. I do feel that it could benefit from some sort of achievement system. And I don't mean achievement like the Xbox or like the Gloomhaven sheet where you're ticking stuff off. I mean more akin to Catan, where in Catan you're awarded bonus points having the longest road. So
could I like bonus points for the longest word?
Single biggest payoff in one play, things like that.
I can see that, but at the same time, Mattel would probably upset so many people by changing anything to that game.
Yeah, I know.
So, but maybe could try house ruling it. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's nothing to stop them from printing different versions of it. Exactly. I think this is the thing that people forget, is that if new stuff comes out, you don't have to use it.
Yeah. Just use the old stuff that you love.
That's
fine.
When people lost their shit when Age of Sigmar came out, you can still play 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy. It's fine. If you want to do that, you can do that.
No! I need to go burn my army of Dark Elves and film it and put it up on the internet. People will think I'm a sane and rational person.
Lighter fluid, because that is a sane and rational response to that.
Yeah, burning some... If you want to come across as a perfectly rational human being, ritualistically burn something in response to a thing you don't like.
Listen,
that's
if it was good enough
advice
for Savonarola, it's good enough for me.
And on that note, we'll draw this episode to a close. But thank you very much for listening, guys. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Tom. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to check out more Unlucky Frog, check their Facebook page. You can find it by searching Unlucky Frog Gaming. You can also support them on Patreon. And check out their website at www.unluckyfrog.com.
Mention the Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget the Twitter.
They've got Twitter too. It's pretty cool.